the rand still hovering around those levels hit yesterday afternoon, around 663 to 665 against the US dollar. That weakness that came through in the rand yesterday, could you put it down squarely to dollar strength or a dollar rebound against the euro?
Well, yes, as you mentioned, yesterday's rand weakness persisted this morning, which leads us to believe that we could possibly see a retracement of retracement back to 673 on the back of the fact that rand bulls failed to sustain Monday's breach of December's high of 655. We also saw stalling precious metal prices. There's a lack of extended dollar weakness. This week's pullback in both the local and international equity markets, and yesterday's disappointing domestic data readings that we saw collectively supports a weaker rand. And if today's vehicle sales data disappoints, and if demand for commodities continues to sour, then we could possibly see the rand maintaining a weaker bias in the short term.
What's the view for those vehicle sales numbers? And that's April's numbers, because we had in March almost 23% year-on-year growth. That was slightly weaker than the 25% in February. But vehicle sector still looking pretty strong at this stage. Would you expect that to change for April?
I do think that the numbers will be slightly lower in April on the back of the fact that April is usually a seasonally weaker sales month. We have a string of holidays during April, which results in basically 22 selling days compared to March's 26 selling days. So we do expect some weakness to come in, but I don't think that trend is likely to continue through to the remainder of this year. We could see vehicle sales growth pick up as we go forward.
Let's touch on some of that data we had yesterday. You mentioned disappointing, and I presume that's the unemployment number back up at 25%, just when we thought things were getting better. Do you think we've stabilized around these levels? Do you think that we could see that number deteriorate even further?
I do think that there could be some improvement this year. If you look at the numbers closely, there was large employment losses in the construction sector, the trade sector, transport sector as well. But it is encouraging that we saw gains in key sectors such as the manufacturing and financial and other business services sector, which is key to long-term sustainable employment growth going forward. So I do think that we could see the numbers start to improve as we move forward this year.
How about the PMI reading yesterday? It came off slightly from March's levels, but still looking pretty strong despite that little retracement.
Indeed pretty strong, but we did see some moderation in the business activity and the new sales orders numbers, which I do think needs to pick up quite dramatically for us to see the number improving again above the 13-month high that we saw last month. However, the employment index, which still remained below 50, is a bit of a concern going forward, but the number did increase. The prices index component also moderated slightly during the month, which really is good for our inflation outlook going forward.
Shireen, you said you would expect the rand to perhaps retrace up to 673 after failing to breach that 655 level. What's the view on the dollar-euro from here? Because many thinking that this bit of dollar rebound could just be temporary over in the US.
I do think that we could possibly see the current euro-dollar maintaining the current trend that it has been. If we look at tomorrow's, the outcome of tomorrow's ECB meeting, there is no indication that at this stage that the ECB will hike rates by 25 basis points. I think that we could see the hikes come in later this year, and I don't think that they're going to put too much pressure on the fact that they're fighting inflation. I think that they're going to rather concentrate on what's happening in the economy and maintain the current interest rate trend that they have been.